Good morning, guys. Welcome back to my channel. For those of you who do not know, my name is Elizabeth. I am a full-time photographer based out of Ohio, but I do travel all the time, so I kind of go anywhere. I have been asked so many times, you know, people tell me that, oh wow, that must be the dream to be a full-time photographer and make your own schedule and take pictures and all this stuff. And yes, it is, but it wasn't a dream getting here. When people ask me how, you know, I transitioned from like a full-time job or like my part-time jobs I had before, or basically just transitioned into being a full-time photographer. I'm a boudoir, engagement, and wedding photographer mainly. I dabble in births and newborns and seniors and all of that too, but I'm mainly a boudoir and wedding, plus the engagement session that comes with that also. But I get asked all the time, you know, how I decided to make the jump and become a full-time photographer. So today's video is going to be about how I personally made the transition and decided to quit my other jobs and go into full-time photography and what I do in the off-season. This video is not intended to be this is how you should transition to full-time photography. If you guys can take advice from this video, that's awesome, but it is not intended to be a how-to transition. It's a how I did transition, just kind of telling you guys so you know the story behind that. So I started photography back in high school sometime. I don't even know, but one of the girls in my class got an underwater camera. I freaking loved her pictures on Facebook, so I was like, I need an underwater camera, of course. I got one, and with that little camera, it was like a little green digital camera, and I took it everywhere, and I started getting into photography and taking pictures of my friends and family and whatever. From there, eventually I got a Nikon D5100. I used it for years. I got a little bundle kit with it. It came with 2 lenses and a camera bag, and that was my baby. I started doing family pictures for people, couples portraits, headshots, whatever I could find, just because I loved it so much, and I just wanted to build up my portfolio and learn how to do that. I would just take pictures, edit them in the simple, like, iPhoto on Max used to have something like you could go in and change the colors and everything like that, and that's literally what I used for years, like longer than I want to admit. I didn't get into Lightroom until like maybe like 3 years ago, and I've been doing this for like almost 10 years. But that's how I started. I just did things because I liked it. And I did do a poll on my Instagram. If you're not following me, it's down below. And I asked, like, if I do start getting back into photography videos, because I used to do these all the time, what would be videos that you would want to see? Or, like, questions that you would want answered in a video or whatever. And someone was like, how did you decide or know when to start charging people? My answer to this was very simple. When I was asking people if they would model for me, it was free. But if they were seeing my stuff and coming to me and be like, hey, will you take these pictures or will you do this for me, they had to pay. Started very little, like $50 an hour, and they got like all the pictures basically. Learned a lot since then. But basically I didn't really have photography as an income until I was in my sophomore or junior year of college. I was in a sorority, and one of my sorority sisters had asked me to capture a surprise proposal for one of the other girls in the sorority, and I showed up, took all the pictures and everything, and they didn't pay me, and I was like, I was blown away by it. I was like, you didn't, like, that session to me though was priceless, because that is the session that motivated me enough to make myself a Facebook page and start advertising, make myself have a solid price sheet and say, if you want pictures done by me, I will do no more free sessions. I can go on and on for like another video another time about my opinion on free sessions when you're building your portfolio as a photographer and everything, so if you want to see that, let me know down below. But for this in particular, it changed everything, and that's where I think I really started. After I made the Facebook page, I started getting paying clients, not like a whole lot or anything. Things didn't really pick up until years later, like I would do it on and off, weekends, whatever, but it wasn't enough to make an income. So throughout all of this time, I would have a second and third job. So I worked at a sporting goods store, I was a waitress, I worked at a canoe rental place, I was a hostess at another place. I did all sorts of stuff, and a lot of it was just for fun. So when I really started to transitioning into full-time photography, I was working at a rehab hospital. I was in PT school before all this happened, and so that was like my heart, that I loved to do that. And so it came down to me doing photography most times and me working in an inpatient rehab hospital, basically full-time, like 30 hours a week or something. And once I started school for grad school, which was in August, grad school I started in May or June of 2018. And so I kept my hospital job on the weekends, and I tried to keep photography in there. It got to the point where I was having so much like photography, people asking me for sessions and everything, even though I was raising my prices so that I wouldn't have to do as many to make just as much money. People still wanted sessions. So it got to the point where I was like, dang, I need to like quit my job, my weekend job, even though it's just weekends. So in August of 2018, I was finally like, all right, cutting the cord. I'm gonna put all my extra time on the weekends towards photography, and that's going to be my only source of income. I will say, just as a disclaimer, at this point I was living with my mom, so I did not have to pay rent. I didn't have to pay for my own food or anything like that. Some kids' parents pay for gas in their car to go wherever they want and stuff. My parents did not do that. I had to pay for my own gas, and like if I wanted to like eat out anywhere or like buying whatever I wanted, basically. Paying for school, I guess, is a big one. I had to pay for grad school. So that's kind of what is behind that. So in August of 2018, I decided that is enough. I'm just going to do full-time photography and school, which you can't really be full-time photography. So I say it was really my only source of income then, because I was a full-time student. So in the real transition for everything took place in October of 2018. Again, this is my story about how I transitioned to full-time photography. I hope no one else's has to go like this. But in October of 2018, I did all the videos about my mom. She passed away, and I had to coordinate everything with her funeral and moving out of her house, all that, and I had to miss quite a bit of school. So October of 2018 was the turning point. I had a point where I was like, all right, I've been out of grad school for 2 weeks. It's going to be crazy hard for me to catch up, and right now I do not have the mental capacity to do this. I had gone home crying 2 weeks before any of this happened, thinking, I don't want to be a PT, I want to be a photographer. That was my dream, and I was like, I can't imagine getting through school and not wanting to go to work every day. So this was like solidified for me, like, you're not going back. They gave me the option to think about it for a year, and I thought about it, and I did a video on all of that, but basically it came down to I was not going back. And at that point, I was like, all right, girlfriend, you're going to have to buy a house to live in with my fiance, husband, whatever he is now that we've done these elopement vows, I don't know. But I was living with my dad, but we started house hunting. And I was like, girlfriend, you get to get a real job, or you get to pursue this photography full-time, 100%, all you've got, put into your business. And so I said, I'm gonna do it. Literally, people told me I was crazy. My dad sat me down and said, you're so stupid for doing this, you need an actual income and you need a real job. David kept hinting, I think you need to go back to school, I think you need to go, get a job here or there or whatever. And both of David's parents separately sat me down and were like, if you're gonna move in with my son and get married to him and buy a house, you need to have a real job. You think this is all like the world is full of daydreams and everything, but it's not. So me being me, I took that as motivation, and I was like, I'm gonna give myself 1 year to prove that I can do this. I'm going to track every single penny that I make. A lot of photographers, once they start out, it's horrible, but they say they don't make as much as they actually do, so they don't have to pay taxes on it. I'm 100% legal. I rebranded my business. I've been doing taxes for it for years, and I was like, every single penny I'm going to track, so I know exactly how much that I make, and I can turn around and prove to people, I'm going to make this work. This is a full-time job for me. It's a lot of work, and I have to do it. There's no other option. I'm going to make it work. And that was when I decided all in. I was going to advertise myself on Facebook and Instagram. I started posting every day. I rebranded everything, and I made it a big deal so that I could get people involved and excited about it, and they would follow along with the process, and it got a lot of people seeing my work and involved. Since then, I've booked so many weddings, lots of sessions. It is now July of 2019. I haven't really struggled with money, even though now David and I have bought a house. We do have a mortgage. We have our own bills, have our own insurances, and all of that fun stuff to pay for. We're paying for, you know, our wedding and our honeymoon and stuff, and furnishing our house and remodeling our house and all sorts of stuff. And so, you know, it's a lot of hard work, and it's very stressful, but it's worth it to have my own schedule and to do what I love. I will say, since I'm mainly a boudoir photographer, I don't know why, but for the past 2 years, my busier season has been in the winter, outside of weddings, because more people are thinking about boudoir throughout the winter to lead up until Valentine's Day. And so I'm more busy during that time. So summer, it is slower, I will admit. What do I do in the summer to make up for not having as many clients? First, weddings are great because people have payment plans and can pay over time throughout the summer. Second, I also do YouTube, so I have, obviously that little income. It's not a lot, I promise, but it's like, it helps. Little income from YouTube, and then since I'm so experienced with videos and stuff like that, I've been working with companies and doing like behind the scenes videos for them. I don't market that, I don't advertise that, I don't really talk about that, but that is a way for me to make extra income by being creative. Way back in January, I was hired for this coming August to become a nanny 3 days a week, which is just going to be like 30 hours a week. I accepted that back in August because people were like, you know, people say that and you're like, oh yeah, it's motivating, whatever. And then you're like, what if they're right? So I did do that. David and I sat down and he said, you know, you can make it work, but I want you to have a backup plan. So I am going to start full-time nannying in August just to help like pay for our wedding in January and our honeymoon and all of that. So it's more like stable. But like photography is wonderful, and that's kind of my story. I didn't have like a 9-to-5 job where I was like, all right, I'm gonna, you know, rack up, like some people say, like rack up like 6 months of savings before you jump into full-time, so like you can make a difference for like that period where you're transitioning. I didn't do that. I didn't really, you know, for me, it wasn't a choice. It was, you're gonna do full-time or you're gonna have to find another job, which is gonna take time regardless. So I was like, I was also starting somewhere because I had a really good clientele base built up already. I have a good social media presence for like my area, I guess, and I have the passion to do it. If I have any tips for you, my one biggest tip is that if you are going to make the transition to be a full-time photographer, go 100% in. Don't dip your toes in a bunch of different times and take them back out and think, oh, maybe I can do this, maybe I can't. You have to 100% be dedicated that you are going to make it work. That is my biggest piece of advice. But I think that right now that is it for this video. I just wanted to kind of do like a, I guess, story time. Drive with me how I personally made the transition to do this full time, how I'm making it work. Yes, it's hard, but it's worth it for me. If you guys have any other questions about photography, I'm done traveling for a while, so I'm going to I'm really trying in July to get 3 videos a week for YouTube, just to like see if that like changes like my statistics and everything on like behind the scenes stuff, just because I'm genuinely curious. Basically, I just wanted to get this video filmed and published for you guys to start the transition. I want to go back into photography videos now that I am done traveling for a while. I want to do behind the scenes and Q&As and tips and advice and whatever. So if you guys have any questions or video suggestions regarding photography, drop them down in the comments down below. I always love knowing what you guys are interested in, just because I like having a relationship with you, of course. That is it for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Be sure to give it a thumbs up if you did, so I know to continue making the photography videos. And subscribe to my channel and turn your little notification bell on so that you're notified when my next video goes up. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!